Welcome to Ignite Your Spark series on life expressions. I'm your host, Charie Ilon. This series came about because of the Ignite Your Spark Masterclass by Azim Jamal. The masterclass has transformed my outlook and habits in life, and of course, many other participants. That's why I want to share this with a wider audience through Life Expressions podcast, who will benefit in learning from Azim and my fellow participants, and might later on would like to participate in the upcoming masterclass of Azim. We have already discussed service and purpose in the first two episodes of the series. If you haven't listened to that, it's still available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Today, we will focus on the third element of Spark, which is attraction. What you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. And what you imagine, you create. Buddha once said that. This time, we will discuss the power of attraction in igniting your spark. Joining us to discuss this today is no less than Azim Jamal. Azim is an inspirational speaker, best-selling author, and a leadership coach. He is the founder of Corporate Sufi Worldwide Incorporated, a company dedicated to inspiring and empowering leaders to achieve material success, blended with a deep sense of purpose, balance, and fulfillment. His book, The Power of Giving, co-authored with Harvey McKinnon, has been a #1 bestseller on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It has been translated in 9 languages, won the Nautilus Gold Award for books that create social change, and even topped Harry Potter for a few hours. His latest and 9th book is entitled Spark, From Journey from Success to Significance. Welcome, Azim.
Thank you, Charie.
Good to have you back.
Thank you.
Our guest today is Fahrin Hirji. Fahrin is a seasoned leader in talent acquisition within technology markets, with over 25 years of corporate experience, including 16 years in senior management. She has developed global recruitment strategies for major organizations like Amazon Web Services, Barrick Gold, National Defense, and RCMP Canada, driving revenue for portfolios up to $20 billion. Specializing in cybersecurity and AI, Fahrin also coaches executives on career progression, succession planning, and team culture. She mentors young professionals, helping them develop essential skills and networks. Additionally, she serves on the board of directors for a housing cooperative supporting affordable housing in Toronto. Welcome to the series, Fahrin.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
And of course, we have Henry Rosaly. Henry is the youngest of all of us. He's a recent graduate from Babson College in Massachusetts and currently works as Director of Marketing in Puerto Rico's largest local third-party logistics company named Island Wide. Welcome to Life Expressions, Henry.
Hello, Charie. Thank you. Thank you.
Glad to have all of you here. And so, Azim, for the purpose of those who have not attended the masterclass, and of course who have not watched the series, the first and second episode, let us first discuss briefly Spark. What is Spark?
So spark is something we are all born with, but unfortunately, most people lose that spark because of circumstances. But the message we have is the spark does not depend on circumstances. The spark depends on what's inside you. When you rekindle your spark within, you ignite your spark within, it's a twinkle in your eye, your brows are unwrinkled, you got a smile on your face, your heart is open, there's an echo in your voice, there's a spring in your step, and you're glowing and flowing and oozing with energy.
Yeah, that's great. Fahrin and Henry, how was your experience attending the masterclass? Fahrin, let's start with you.
Sure. It was quite wonderful to be amongst a group of like-minded people. You sometimes in your philosophy of life don't get a chance to connect with those that have the same life purpose. And for me, that was a very enriching experience to be able to hear the experience of others, their approach, and how similar it is to me. We were able to bounce ideas off each other. And it was reassuring that it's not a one-off thought that I'm having or an experience that I'm having. It is a collective, and I'm part of that collective. So for me, that was the best part of the masterclass.
Yeah, thank you. How about you, Henry?
I also agree with Fahrin. I think having a community to be able to bounce your thoughts out on was really, it was really enriching, because I think one of the best parts of the course is that Asim pushes you to be introspective and look at yourself and sort of assess yourself in certain areas. And as the youngest member in the class, it was very eye-opening to see that to see everybody's experience, and to see that in their different stages of life, we were kind of all being able to assess ourselves and help each other grow introspectively and in a very positive manner.
Yeah. And today we will focus on attraction, the third element of spark. Azim, tell us, to explore the concept of attraction.
So basically, there are three elements in the concept of attraction. One is affirmation attraction, activity impact, and living magnet. However, it's very important for people to realize that this course is quite holistic and quite interconnected. So for example, affirmation attraction is knowing your identity, what you want to become, why you want to become what you want to become, being very clear about it, and then affirming it as if it's a done deal. But to achieve that, as we discussed in one of the first sessions, that the foundation has four parts. It's affirmation attraction, it's ultimate purpose credo, it's finding your birthday gift, and having a service mantra. So these are the foundation. And the outcome at the end is flow, is being a living magnet, having balance, and having a spark. And the process is 8 things: service, secret sauce, namaste. It is, activity impact. It is affirmation attraction is part of the foundation, but it's also inverse paranoia mentality, positive mental attitude, bouncing back bigger and stronger, meditating, and having a journal. These are the 8 processes. So everything is connected. So today we are only talking about attraction, but you cannot look at attraction in isolation. So in today's part, the 3 parts are affirmation attraction, knowing your identity, why you want to be what you want to become, and being very clear and affirming it. And then activity impact is deliberately putting actions which are aligned to the affirmation. You cannot have affirmations and have your activities all over the place. Then you're an activity trap, not an activity impact. And when you do that, then you invite becoming a living magnet, which you become a vibration. You attract accidents, circumstances, events, people to help you achieve your outcome. So today I'm giving you a holistic picture of how everything connects to each other. And we cannot look at attraction by itself.
That is true. Fahrin and Henry, have you already found your identity, the identity that you want to become? Let's start with you, Henry.
Yes, and it has been through the help of Asim, without a doubt. Asim told us this story in class. It was of a person that he had met and he had helped, and he had asked that person, and Asim, please correct me if I'm incorrect. He had asked that person in a napkin to sort of write their affirmation attraction, their goal in life. And Asim told that person, I want you to read it in the morning, I want you to read it in the nighttime. And that person kept the napkin for a couple years. The way I do it is I personally, what works for me is that I keep it sort of looks like a little presentation card, like a little credit card. I can show it later as well. It's probably around here as well in my wallet. And that's where I keep my personal mission statement. It helps me kind of focus whenever I find myself, like Asim was saying, in the activity trap, let's say, that I'm doing something that I maybe shouldn't be doing, or I'm focusing on another task. I like to come back to my card, read, and then I sort of just focus in on what I should be doing.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. How about you, Fahrin?
Yeah, absolutely. Azim really helped us to be very focused and grounded. I had a habit of making lists, and I always thought I'm very organized because I'm making lists and I'm getting things done off my list. And my struggle became that list was never ending. And I found amongst colleagues and friends that was often a trap for them. I didn't really identify this as a trap until Azim really helped us to focus and understand the impact that we need to have in our daily activity. It's not about completing the entire list, it's about picking and choosing what aligns with our ultimate purpose and making sure that whatever activity we're having that day has impact towards our ultimate purpose. So for me, I was creating a trap for myself that I wasn't even aware of, thinking I'm doing something positive. You know, Azim taught us many ways through his stories and experiences of how to motivate yourself every day, how to stay on track, how to stay focused. I started to do something once we started the masterclass that I thought was a little bit out there, but it worked for me. You know, everybody sets their alarm clock on their phone. I started to title my alarm clock as to what my purpose was. So every morning when my alarm clock would go off, the first thing I would see on my screen is my purpose. And it really helped me to refocus. And Azim's stories, there was just so much truth and wisdom to that experience that you don't start doubting yourself when you do these little crazy things that you think maybe it's a little too out there, maybe it's not going to work. But it really helps you to understand that focus is so important.
Yes. And now that brings me to ask you, what is your purpose? Because you put it in your alarm. I'm so curious now. What do you put there?
Yes, it really is that, you know, yeah, I think we have to be practical in some ways in our lives that, yes, we need monetary gains, right? We need financial stability. While that was at the start of my career a bit of a driver for me, I quickly realized that I wasn't quite happy doing that. And for me, what was missing was what I grew up with and what my family foundation was about helping people and being of service. That's something that was just a natural part of our upbringing. And so I realized that I can very easily incorporate that into my career by mentoring others, by giving back, by just being a coach to my team. And so that became my purpose is through my career. I never want to be in a job where I don't have the ability to help others. And I found once I started to practice that and focus on it and make that my daily purpose, opportunities just came that aligned with it.
Wonderful. Yeah. Henry, would you be able to share with us what you put in that little card
Of
to
course, of course,
remind?
of
Yes.
course. I consider this my napkin. So my initials are Henry Rosaly,
Yeah.
and I had this laminated as well. I've done a couple takes, so I might change it as well every once in a while. And here's I guess my ultimate purpose credo. And these are sort of areas in my life that I am focusing on right now, because in the point of my career, I guess I'm trying to be a sponge in every sense of the word, a sponge in life. And really trying to, my career really just started, and I'm sort of learning the meaning of the word
Yeah.
work. I'm trying to challenge myself and to take in as much. So I'm taking courses on the side as well. And I guess my affirmation is that I'm driven to become the best version of myself by working hard like never before, surrounding myself with content and material that supports my professional growth and learning while living in the present.
Oh,
And then I
wow.
have,
That's beautiful. And then you have those. Wow. Eh, that's just great. Your comments on this, Azim, like how they have practiced what you have shared with us in the
It's
masterclass.
fantastic. It's fantastic. I think the day when somebody wakes you up at 3 in the morning and asks you what is your purpose, and you can say it without any doubt, that shows that you internalized it, right? You want to internalize. And of course, it's a process. It's a process, it's not a quick fix. And as Henry was mentioning, you got to fine tune and fine tune and fine tune until you get it, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's when you start to walk it, talk it, breathe it, sleep it, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because you vibrate, because you
Yes.
believe, you know it, and that's the ultimate game. And then, of course, being very deliberate about your activities, like Fahrin was talking about the trap, the activities that you're doing, are they aligned to this ultimate, goal that you have, right? So yeah,
Yes.
I think this is a very important exercise for everybody if they want to really live a life of purpose, if they really want to create that spark.
Yes. And so we are talking about activity impact in the daily grind. Sometimes we cannot help but be, shall I say, distracted and get so many activities that we forget to really focus on the things that really matter and are important to us. Do you sometimes feel this as well and are affected with these challenges, Fahrin?
All the time. All the time. We get pulled in so many different directions. There are demands in your career, demands with children, demands with pets, with external sources that you didn't expect. I don't remember a day when I've planned it to my schedule and it's actually worked out hour by hour to that. You know, things unexpected happen all the time. I think it's just the nature of life. And that's why it's so important. And this is what we learned in the masterclass. It's so important to remind yourself and to have that focus, because unless you do, you're going to get sidetracked. And I hear that as, you know, people that I mentor, from high level executives to young professionals, is they get off track very easily. And that takes them away from what they want to, the major part of what they want to achieve that day. It's not about doing 10 things in a day. It's about doing those one or two things that are really going to have an impact towards your end purpose and your end goal, and that align with your life philosophy.
Yeah, that is great. How about you, Henry? How do you deal with this to make sure that you're not trapped in an activity impact?
Of course. Well, Fahrin, I couldn't agree with you more. I work with my family in the company, and I graduated from a business school, but I feel that I never really prepared myself for working with a family, in the sense that I have to, there's no part of the job that I shouldn't be able to do. And sometimes one day I can have one task, and that afternoon I have another task that I have to complete, and it can change from one second to the other. Um, and me personally, I can get very easily distracted with different types of tasks. And I remember um, I spoke I spoke to Azim about this, and he gave me two strategies which I implement in my most productive days. And that's the day before, that evening, I journal what I want to do for the next day. And sort of the next day, it's more like I wake up and I don't have to convince myself. Let's say I set a goal to wake up at 5 a.m. I don't have to convince myself to wake up at 5 a.m. Immediately the alarm goes off, and it's sort of like my body knows this is what I set off to do the day before, and this is what's going to happen the present day. And another thing is that morning, when I get to work, I have my tasks. Let's say 1 to 3 tasks, the biggest things I want to get done, which Asim tells me, if you were to accomplish these 3 things, would this be your wow? So I set my wow, my sort of 3 wows, and if I get those done, I have a great day. So I try to focus on those 3 at the beginning of the day, and whatever comes next is sort of just like juggling different tasks that come. But yeah.
Wow, that is great, and that truly works. Like journaling and making sure that you know what you're gonna do the following day. Azim, could you kindly expound like how helpful this could be?
So I think, yeah, it's very important, first of all, to know what does the wow look like. If you don't know what the wow look like, you can be all over the place, right? So when you wake up in the morning, you know, if I can do these 3 things, and if I can complete these 3 things, my day is a wow. And then focus. That means no interruptions, no phone calls, no emails, no sidetrack. Nobody's dying. You're not an oncologist who has to do a surgery and then, you know. So we are most of us are in a business that nobody is dying. So if you're tied up for 2 hours, the world will not stop, right? But we think that, you know, I have to be always available. And that's a danger, right? Because you don't have to be always available. You know, they say that every 11 minutes you get interrupted. If you allow yourself to be interrupted, your day is so unproductive, because all you're doing is reacting. And by the way, when you're reacting, usually it's other people's goals. So you want to allow some time in the morning to finish your goals, the most important goals. And it's not about prioritizing your schedule. I think Fahrin was saying, right? Then she realized it's not about how many to-do lists I have. It's about looking at your goal, looking at your affirmation, looking at your ultimate purpose, and then saying, am I scheduling my priorities, not prioritizing my schedule? So scheduling your priorities is the way to go, not prioritizing your schedule. Schedule is a to-do list. To-do list is not always the most important. So put your to-do list aside, look at your affirmation, look at your goal, look at your ultimate purpose credo, and say, now, what do I need to do today to align to that? Start with that, and then you go to the other stuff, right? So that's very important, and easy to get distracted, because everybody wants you every time with something or the other. And if you allow yourself to be open, then your day is going to be busy, 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 but not productive, or not transformational.
And not impactful, not realizing the purpose that you have found and identified for yourself. Fahrin, what are the successes that you have achieved in practicing the affirmation attraction?
Yeah, it's been pleasantly surprising sometimes. So I have OCD. I'm happy to share with you. I have OCD, and while you would think that would help you focus, it can sometimes trap you in a loop. And when you get trapped in the wrong loop, your day is on and you haven't achieved what you actually need to do to align with your purpose. Um, that was often my challenge. In this masterclass, we learned exercises that I started to implement that, in my personal experience, helped me. So, writing things down, journaling, I would start to journal every night. Every morning, I would wake up and, before I would get out of bed, I would read my journal as a bit of a reminder as to what I need to align with for the day. That really helped me break some very unhealthy cycles. And I found that saying things out loud, I used to think maybe I'm a little crazy for doing that. I don't know, if somebody hears me, what would they think? Well, I realized during this masterclass that there were others in the class that actually did that. And they said it with confidence. Somebody in the class shared that they would look in the mirror and remind themselves of what their purpose was. And I felt so reassured. You feel when you are in line with what others are doing, you feel a part of a collective. And that was what one of the, as I mentioned at the beginning, was one of the best experiences of the class. But it put my fears to rest. It put my self-doubt to rest. As I came out of this class, I felt very confident about what my practices were, and I learned new ones.
Yeah, that's great. How about you, Henry? What are the successes that you've achieved in practicing the affirmation attraction?
Well, I'd say that the biggest success that I felt in practicing the affirmation attraction is really getting to know myself at a level that I didn't know before. Like I had mentioned, I'm very early on in my career. And I was a student before that. I mean, I'm a student for life, but I had always worked summers, but I had never had this is my first career, let's say professional career job. And getting to know the amount of productivity that I can achieve by focusing on my affirmation attraction, by setting my, let's say, my routine and focusing on that. Sort of whenever I don't, I guess, whenever I don't repeat my affirmation or whenever I'm not necessarily focused, let's say I didn't journal the night before, I didn't set out my goals for that day, I can have very unproductive days. And even if I'm very positive, maybe I won't achieve what I would like to. And whenever I do set myself the goals in a very practical manner, it can be a simple 1, 2, 3, or I tell myself, this is what I want to do the next day. I get so much more out of myself that I didn't know I could do before. Because let's say as a student, for example, I could maybe get an A on a test, which is the best you could get on a test. And I would do great in other things because I would also run in school. But now I'm seeing that in other areas of my life, I can do much better than I would have expected in the past.
That's wonderful. You're doing much better than you have ever expected. Your comments on these, Azim?
Yeah, I think a couple of things come to mind. One is that while we are doing all this, one should not forget to enjoy the ride, because it's never going to be perfect, right? So you have to realize that you will stumble, you will make mistakes, you will cross correct. But if you're not enjoying the ride, you miss the boat. And this is why, over time, my vision has evolved. And my vision really is every single day of my life has to be the happiest day and the most impactful day. Because I can plan for 20 years or 40 years or 100 years, but I don't know if I'm going to be alive tomorrow. So today has to be my most happiest day and the most impactful day, aligned to my affirmations, aligned to my purpose, aligned to my service mantra, using my gift in what I can do best. And that makes life much more simpler. Because if you're not happy, what's the point? What's the point? And happiness is not a destination. Happiness is a journey. Happiness is not a set of circumstances. Happiness is a set of attitudes. So when you realize that this day has to be the most important day, the most impactful day, and the most happiest day. So we should not forget that in the process of becoming too structured and too everything, right?
Yeah. And it is also a choice, right? Like happiness is a choice when you choose to be happy in what you do. And of course, you become happy because you're doing what you would want yourself to do. How about the challenges? When you have already identified your purpose, the identity that you want to have for yourself, and when you attract them, there are still challenges around. How do you deal with them, Fahrin?
There are always challenges. And I think for me, my challenge was just getting pulled in all different directions. Um, focus was the biggest challenge for me that I came to this masterclass with. Is how do I maintain that focus when everything seems to be important? You know, a family member needing an hour of my time is important. A sick pet is, you know, needing time for me is important. My report that I need to hand in for work is important. How do I restructure my day or that hour to make sure that I can focus on what my purpose was for the day? And I found that sometimes I was overcomplicating it. I wasn't managing my time well at all. It wasn't about what am I going to spend the next hour doing. It was about what is the most impactful, what is going to make me happy, what do I need to do to bring myself peace and contentment. And really, that's where I focus. Because if you look at what you need out of life to keep yourself happy, it becomes that much more simple when you're looking at your tasks for the day. You know, so I was overcomplicating it, and simplicity is something I took away from this masterclass. And Azim constantly reminded us, enjoy the ride, enjoy the ride. And that's something I was forgetting to do on a daily basis because I was so focused on putting out fires everywhere. I wasn't really enjoying my day to day. I wasn't finding contentment in that. And it was such a good reminder going through this exercise.
That's great. How about you, Henry? How did you overcome the challenges?
I'd say that maybe my biggest challenges is I like to consider myself a very I kind of say routine animal. That whenever I'm in a routine, I tend to perform much better than I would if I'm not in a routine. My father has a saying that he always tells me, it's if you want something done, give it to the person with no time. And whenever I have my hands full, or let's say I just have a lot of things to do, but I have them in a schedule, let's say I have a routine, I'm very much more productive. And I guess that my biggest challenge is sort of dealing with different aspects of life, and I guess sort of adulting in a certain way. Let's say I set myself a schedule, or let's say I want to come home tonight early after I did exercise to study on a course that I'm taking, let's say, for example, but the light went out, and then I have to go to my mother's house and I haven't taken a shower, or I have to get clothes and then I forget and I pick up food on the way, and then I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Sort of a lot of things can come together, and I find myself right before sleep, I tell myself like, wow, I wasn't able to do this, or I wasn't able to sort of juggle with different things that were happening. And it can happen a lot during the day because I feel that no day for me is the same as the last. So I guess dealing with externalities, I have to become better. I guess that was my challenge. My biggest challenge was that dealing with externalities that would kind of take me away from the deeper yes, from my deeper yes. I remember Azim once told me, it's not that you're saying no to a person, it's you have to say yes to your deeper yes, yes to what you want to accomplish. Because if you work on maybe somebody else's goal, you're accomplishing their tasks or their goal. You have to try to focus on your end. It doesn't mean don't help other people, but don't get trapped in certain different activities.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. What can you say about that, Azim?
Yeah, I think saying no for a deeper yes only happens if your deeper yes is very clear, crystal clear. There's intensity around it. There's frequency around it. There is a, length of time that you say it with. There's conviction around it. Then you can say no for many things that are not as important. The other thing also to realize, it's striving for excellence, not perfection. Perfection is only God. So you're not striving for perfection, you're striving for excellence. And the third point I want to make very important while Henry and Fahrin were talking about is, allowing some uninterrupted time. Even if you cannot allow whole day, which is uninterrupted, you have to allow some uninterrupted time. Okay, I'm going to be available to people's whatever, but in these 2 hours from 8 to 10 or whatever time you want, or 7 to 9 or 7 to 10, it's uninterrupted. I will not take any calls. Nobody's dying, and even if somebody's dying, what can I do by sitting here? And so you allow the 2 to 3 hours where you can really focus. Ideally, do these 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon, uninterrupted, where you finish your most priority, and the rest of the time you allow, and let people know that.
Yeah.
When I was an accountant, you get a message on my phone call, in my voicemail. It says, "Thank you for calling Azim. I'm in meetings with clients. I will call you back between 3 and 5 p.m." So from 3 a.m. when I wake up to 3 p.m., nobody can talk to me. And 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., I make 40 calls, return all the calls I had. But it worked for me. I'm not saying it works for everybody, that kind of time, but whatever it is, you have to have some uninterrupted time for you to be productive.
Yeah, that's great. I'll take that to heart. What about living magnets? Can we talk about that? What is a living magnet when you have to dream big dreams and say that to yourself so that things will happen to you and you can manifest them, or the other way around? Tell us about that, Azim. Living magnet.
So once you have your affirmation attraction, which is your identity, what you want to become, why you want to become that, and that affirmation attraction is aligned to your ultimate purpose credo, what your ultimate purpose goal is. It's aligned to your birthday gift, what comes so naturally to you and so effortless to you. When it's aligned to your service mantra, that this is the service I want to do. I can do many things, but I can do this thing so well that I can use my best gift towards it. When that is very clear, and you're affirming every day with that kind of alignment, then you become a living magnet. You vibrate. You attract accidents, circumstances, events. I was on a flight from Atlanta to Vancouver 3 days ago. So many seats changed. Whatever happened, I ended up with a lady who also had to go through so many changes. And we had a fantastic discussion on the way. You know, it's amazing how, and then you realize it was an attraction for her, attraction for me. So once you do that, you will find that things happen to you almost so naturally that because you're attracting it, because you're becoming a magnet, you're vibrating things to attract circumstances, accidents, people, and incidents to help you achieve your affirmations.
Yeah. So far, Fahrin, can you say that you are in the process of being a living magnet?
Yeah, absolutely. I really do feel that. You know, I used to get out of bed if I had a big presentation in front of executives, and I'd be like, I hope I do well in my presentation, or I wonder if I'm forgetting anything. And now I wake up and I think I'm going to do excellent in that presentation. I'm going to have every person's attention for that 20 minutes I have them. And it just changes your energy. Everything what you feel inside. I mean, we already know from scientific experiments that when we feel happy, our body radiates a different energy, or our body functions differently, and we forget that sometimes. So just waking up and saying, I'm going to do very well in this presentation, I've got this, it was unbelievable. And I'll tell you, you know, I'm between jobs right now, and I was thinking, I've done senior manager roles. What's the next step up? And how do I not get trapped in that director role or executive role and just run paper and not have it meaningful to my life purpose, which is to help people? And suddenly I said, I'm going to find something where I can take charge and I can help people. And I'm not saying this is exactly why it happened, but I started to attract conversations that led me into this opportunity I have to be on the board of directors for housing, where I can actually help people find affordable housing. I can actually help put that out there in a city where a lot of people struggle for that. And that only came because I woke up one morning and I said, I'm going to find something that I can continue to help people with. And I think I personally have a belief that that changed the energy around me. It changed how I functioned during the day. I didn't sit there looking at my laptop. I was in the park, taking in the sun, as Azim said, enjoy the ride. I had my laptop in the park, and that's where I had that conversation with somebody who told me about this opportunity.
That's wonderful. Yeah, you are indeed a living magnet. How about you, Henry?
You know, this reminds me of when I met Asim. I think I was maybe 16 or 17, because Asim would speak with my father. And I'll tell that story later, but my father basically gave me the gift of Asim's contact. I asked my day one father for my birthday. My father wanted to give me a gift, and I said I didn't know what I want, but I said I want something timeless. Timeless was what I wanted. And my father said, here, I want to give you the gift of Asim's contact. And today it's a blessing to call Asim my friend. But I remember that Asim recommended, one day when we had just started kind of talking and meeting each other, he said, you know, Henry, I think you should read these books. And they were Think and Grow Rich and How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I remember that in these books, it talked a lot of believing yourself, of having in possession the things that you already want, and being the person you know you want to be. So whenever, let's say I do some goal setting exercises in the past with Asim, it's not I want this. It's I am this, or I am becoming this. I am in possession of the type of person I want to be. And right now, I'm working in marketing, and that can involve a lot of talking, for example, in television, or giving a lot of public presentations, a lot of public speaking. And back then, I guess I used to get much more nervous when I would do these types of things because it's sort of challenging myself. But my mother likes to tell me that the best salesmen are the ones who believe what they're selling. So whenever, for example, let's say I'm going to do a public presentation in front of, let's say, 50 to 100 people, talking about a product that we have, whenever I've been able to sort of do the journaling, stay on track, I'm confident in myself, and my confidence comes from my competence on the subject of Henry and on the subject of what I'm selling. And it comes out so naturally that it sort of attracts others in a way as well. People believe what I'm saying. It's sort of because I believe it. And I guess that's my take on that. It's a very enriching thing for me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Your parents must be very proud of you. And indeed, it is a blessing to call Azim a friend and a coach. What can you say about this, Azim, that we are in the process of becoming a living magnet?
No, I think the sooner you start that in your life, the better. It's never too late. It's never too late. There was a guy who was almost 100 years old and raised more than 30 million pounds for charity, right? So it's never too late. But the sooner you start, the better, and not to procrastinate. Today is the most important day. Today is the most powerful day. Today is the best gift you have, and live it fully. And when you live it fully, every second expands. There are 86,400 seconds in a day. A day expands to eternity. Yeah, you can do so much in one day when you become present, when you become alive, when you become transformational, when you become something that you want to attract in your life because you believe in that. You feel that's your gift, and enjoy the process of what you're doing. Expands time, expands happiness, expands impact. And that's the beauty of becoming a living magnet. And then whatever comes your way, you're attracting it. So don't sidetrack. It might even be an obstacle. It might be a hurdle. It might be a challenge. It might be a failure, but that's coming to you for a bigger purpose because you believe that. Because you believe that you are the magnet attracting everything, the good, the bad, the indifferent, to make you achieve your goal.
Finally, your message, Fahrin and Henry.
Yeah, I will say that again, it goes back to overcomplicating life and overcomplicating how we get through our day. It's simple. It really truly is simple. And it's as simple as just telling yourself you can do something. And it starts there. Azim's guidance helped me to connect the dots. I thought I had my purpose and I knew what it was. I thought I was doing the affirmation attraction. I thought I was being a living magnet. The missing link for me was how they all connect. And what exercises do I implement in my daily life that don't take up my whole day? And what practices do I incorporate that help me connect those dots? And that's where I really valued Azim's guidance, is that had the greatest impact coming away from this experience learning Spark, is how to connect those dots and how to be consistent in doing that every day.
Yeah, thank you. How about you, Henry? What would you like to share with us?
Well, I think what I'd like to share is I was surprised at how much I enjoyed the course with the community of people I had met as well. I think the course is very universal. As the youngest person in the course, I was surrounded with people that are much more, let's say, successful, or much more, they've accomplished many more things in their life. And being the teacher to yourself in a way by doing these self-assessments, and then having Asim's guidance, his teachings, and the community to surround myself with, like Fahrin was talking about, that sometimes you might feel alone. There were times where I would judge myself in certain things, and I remember speaking to Asim and telling him, I'm being very critical in these types of things. I have a lot of ambitions, and I kind of compare myself to the Henry of the future. And I remember Asim would tell me, like, you have to judge yourself on the way you feel, or sort of assess yourself on the way you feel. And I remember I scored in certain things. I remember maybe it was in activity impact, for example. I would score myself maybe a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10 because I tend to become very distracted with certain things. And seeing other people in similar scenarios really reassured me. And it really helped me. So I think Azim's teachings are universal. I think this course is truly for anybody who wants to better in their lives. And it's great because the criteria, it's not just a 1 out of 10. It's the criteria comes from yourself. There is no, I feel that there's no, let's say, roof on your improvement. So it was really great to challenge myself and see things through that perspective.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The course is universal. Azim.
Well, I think it's a privilege to be part of this group. I think we had people from 36 people from 16 countries. Everybody had different strengths and background, and there were different kind of people with. So I think it was amazing. The beauty was I was learning as I was teaching, and that's the power, right? That there is no. I mean, we talked about it. The biggest room in the world is the room for improvement for all of us.
Yeah.
And if you're growing and learning every day, that's the magic. The spark is not limited; it's unlimited. It
Yes.
gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And when you learn from each other, that's the power, right? And that's why I feel in the last 30 years, the first time I've done an online program, a masterclass, and better late than never. And I realized the power of it.
Yeah, and we will continue to ignite our spark with you and with the process. Especially, we know the power of attraction. We know that we can do a twice daily affirmation. I do that for myself, and I always start with the words, I am. Thank you so much, Azim, Henry, and Fahrin. This has been a great conversation. In the next part of the series, we will talk about resilience. And of course, all of you out there who are becoming more curious and wanting to participate in the masterclass, this is truly transformational with Azim. You can check out the website corporatesufi.com/spark-masterclass. Again, thank you so much, Henry, Rosaly, Fahrin, Hirji, and of course, Azim Jamal. I'm your host, Charie Ilon. This is Ignite Your Spark series on life expressions. Till next time.